Gen G was largely considered by most experts to be the favorites to win Worlds 2024 prior to the start of the event. However, they would instead go on to crash out in the semi-finals of the event, losing to a rejuvenated Faker and T1. Gen G had been dominating the matchup against T1 all year. So what happened? How did all the experts get it wrong? And how did Faker and T1 manage to bring down Gen G? This video will aim to explore the reasons why Gen G fell in the semifinals at Worlds and were unable to achieve the final goal. To understand why Gen G wasn't able to win Worlds 2024, we're first going to head back to the summer season and take a look at what Gen G was so good at this year. And we're going to look at the last time they faced off against T1, and this series was a pretty dominating series from Gen G. The early mid-game in this game is close, but we'll see in this sequence how Gen G goes from the game being even to being ahead through their very unique playstyle. And the first thing that I want to note is that Gen G's unique playstyle was very much made possible by the meta at the time. So we can see on the right-hand corner of the screen that the meta in summer 2024 was largely based around two ADCs, an ADC in mid lane and an ADC in the bot lane, with an AP jungle. And this, by the end of Summer Split, would be considered pretty much across the world to be the best way to play the game. T1 in this series was still operating a more traditional comp, which in this meta was not so beneficial because it had a lot of drawbacks which the double ADC didn't have. Okay, so let's look at how Gen G plays out this sequence and uses that double ADC in order to create advantage. So to begin the sequence, we're going to see on the bottom side of the map that Lehens is going to walk in and he's going to get caught and himself killed. Now, on the surface, you may think to yourself like, oh, this is a mistake from the Gen G support, he's died. But when Gen G Lehens has shown on the bottom side of the map and died, he's also spotted the jungle and support from T1. And what this allows is it's going to allow for Keen to channel his teleport up onto the top side of the map. And he's going to come in, and we already see Zeus is on half HP. So Zeus is going to have to give this tower. And we'll see now in a second that Corki and Cassante are going to be able to pick up this tower, and they're going to be able to create a lot of pressure on this top side of the map from that. Now, if you don't know, tier 2 towers give a lot of gold. The gold is local, so it's just for the people who are in the area. But when the person in your area is your Corki, is a person which it's really good to get gold on, because ADCs scale incredibly well, especially when you have an ADC on mid, then that's really beneficial from you. So Gen G go from Lehens making a mistake here to gaining a tower and coming away ahead. Now, this next part is where we're going to really see just how impressive Gen G are as a team. So to begin with, we'll see that Chovy TP's back across to make sure that the members of T1 can't pick up the outer turret and gain some gold. And then we'll see Gen G really defending their bottom side jungle and pushing T1 out. Again, it's very, very difficult to engage into double ADC. And so when T1 is ahead of their lines, it's really challenging for them. And all this time, we see that Keen is just maintaining pressure over Zeus in the top side of the map. And now T1 is in a position where they're on the back foot. Top lane is pushed in. They've lost that skirmish in the bottom side jungle. So now mid is being pushed in as well. Top is being pushed in. And we'll also see in a second that Gen G is going to push on the bottom side of the map too, with Kenyon chasing Faker out. And at the same time as Kenyon is chasing Faker out, Alistar is actually going to be playing on the bottom side of the map. And so we'll see Gen G opting to press all three lanes. And we can see how this plays out to Gen G's benefit in a second, where Canyon is going to go in on Faker and just keep chasing him out. And on the minimap, we will also be able to see that Zeri is pushing in mid. So now the members of T1 are going to teleport in and they're going to look to kill Chovy or Canyon and to see what they can pick up. But actually, this is really bad for T1 because, again, the rest of their map is being pressured. The Gen G support is placing wards in the bottom side, in the top side, which we can see on the minimap. And T1 has already lost all of that control which they had on the bottom side of the map. And so even if T1 is able to pick up kills right now, this is not going to end up being beneficial for them. Because they're just going to end up in a map state where they're going to recall and they're going to have absolutely no control. And when we skip ahead of the replay, which is happening now, we'll see when we come out that Gen G is going to be able to utilize that pressure and control to also pick up the bottom tower. And we'll just play ahead for that. But the key thing we're going to note now is that in a situation where the support from Gen G got caught, by utilizing the incredibly fast push of the double ADC, and by playing all of the map at once, not just playing one or two lanes, but playing all three lanes, Gen G has been able to take 3 towers on this sequence and pull ahead about 2,000 gold over T1. But this was possible because of the meta before Worlds. And so now we're going to take a look at a mid-game from the World Championships and understand why this didn't work anymore for Gen G. So now we're going to fast forwards to Worlds 2024. And we can already see just from the draft that things are very different for Gen G compared to the summer season. So we see that Gen G, instead of having their famous double ADC, this time they've gone for a meta composition with the Ahri, with the Nocturne, and this composition is very good at diving backline. The reason for this is because Ahri and Nocturne can go straight on the backline, and Ezreal's got very good self-peel. Using his E, he's able to dash, get away from enemies that are looking to get on top of him. And we'll see now in this sequence really why Gen G wasn't able to compete when the meta shifted. Because we've got an objective spawning in 20 seconds, which is the Rift Herald. And it does look like at the moment Gen G is not going to be able to contest it because of how low Keen is. But actually Keen does still have that teleport available. And so an objective contest is still very much on the cards from Gen G. And we'll see as well that on the minimap that Lehens has been able to walk in and get some good vision on the entrance and also some deep vision there as well. We can just pause and highlight that. One of them's been killed already here, but he's still got that deep ward in on that top side of the map. But because of the base which is coming through from Keen, Gen G is going to have to cede control of this area. And so when this objective starts up in a second, it's going to be T1 that is starting it off. Now, for Gen G, compared to the previous meta, where right now they could just say like, okay, T1, you guys can have this, and then they could just push in mid, and then potentially look to hover bottom and pressure Ahri's lane, and, you know, just create a whole lot of pressure on the map with their 2 ADCs. Ahri's not going to be able to push down a tower if she's given time alone with it. And so for Gen G right now, there are really the 2 options they have are to either fight this or to give it, but give it for control instead of gold. And we'll see that Gen G is going to choose to fight. And we'll see the Jax teleport coming in now on this top side of the map, and we'll see both Jax and Rel going in at the same time, but this engage is an absolute disaster for Gen G. They haven't really caught anybody significant, and we'll see that 2 members of Gen G are going to die. But on top of this, Chovy's also been pulled across to the fight. Chovy has walked all the way from the bottom to the top side of the map. And the reason this is such a disaster is because sometimes if you lose something on one side of the map, then you can create pressure on the other side of the map. But with Chovy also pulling himself up to this top side of the map, it means that Gen G is in a position where now they're just going to lose and they're not going to be able to take anything. And not only is Gen G going to lose these second lava or second void grubs, but T1 is also going to be able to utilize the fact that they have so many members on the top side of the map to take this top tower too. And so now we've gone already just in the space of about a minute from the game being even to T1 being massively, massively, massively ahead. And this really just shows how much things have changed. Where Gen G before, they could go around playing all this tempo, funneling gold onto Chovy. But in the world's meta, after those things had been nerfed, and Gen G had to fight, they didn't have as good angles on engages. They didn't have as good eyes on engages. And ultimately, a lot of the things which they'd relied upon to be such a good team in the summer split were no longer available. And I want to finish this video off with a couple of words. As a professional team, you'll always do your absolute best to put in the hundreds or thousands of hours to be the best that you can at the game. And for Gen G, for most of the summer split, this was something that they'd done. And Gen G is, in some ways, an unfortunate victim of another very drastic patch change right before Worlds. And ultimately, when the meta changed and the meta became all about fighting, nobody in the world was going to be better than T1 because no other team in the world fights as well and the way which T1 does. Okay, thanks for watching my video. If you've enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. I'd really appreciate it.